Welcome all to the public forum for the 18th of February 2025. I now declare the meeting open at 6:03 p.m. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which Moonee Valley is located, the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And we pay respect to their spirits, ancestors, community members and elders past, present and emerging. We also extend this respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Tonight's public forum will be live streamed on our website, and I warmly welcome those in the gallery and those watching online. I note that Councillor Theocharides is running late, but she will be here. The public forum provides residents with an opportunity to present to council topics of interest and allows for further discussion, which is not possible at a formal council meeting. Tonight we've received 4 submissions. Each speaker will have 5 minutes, and for the first presentation, I would like to invite Mark Kasser to make a presentation regarding the activity centres and catchment area issues. Thank you, Mark. You have 5 minutes.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Thank you for this opportunity to address Council. My name is Mark Kasser and I am a representative of the Liveable Moonee Valley Association. We are a recently formed not-for-profit community group that, in just a short time, has grown to over 500 members. While we're a diverse group, we are united by a shared commitment to sustainable community-focused development. In our view, it's our view that the Victorian Government's housing plan has firmly placed its thumb on the scales, tipping the balance towards developers at the expense of our community. Their plan allows for increased height, wider and steeper buildings deep into our residential areas, reduced parking, loss of tree canopy, green space and heritage protection, and of course the removal of review rights, so residents and council have no say over how our neighbourhood evolves. Unchallenged, these proposals risk irreversible damage to the essential elements of what makes Moonee Valley a desirable place to live. We do not oppose social and affordable housing. We do not oppose greater density in our established suburbs. The Council's 2040 plan was carefully developed and has the support of residents, yet it has been cast aside by government. This was a plan developed by our council for our residents and must be restored. In its 2024 submission, Council has already opposed the government plan and we commend you for that. But your submission to government, taken alone, is not enough. Ultimately, this is a political exercise and the state government will only reconsider its approach if residents make their voices heard. Over the past several months, we've engaged with many in our community, and what is clear is that residents still do not understand what is happening or what's at stake. We ask Council to use its resources to inform the community in 4 ways. By publishing clear information about the plan on the Council's website and newsletters, including the loss of planning rights, risks to neighbourhood character, and most importantly, the consequences for infrastructure and livability. 2, by holding public forums and information sessions to engage residents and give them a platform to express their concerns. By sending direct communication to affected households through letters or targeted outreach to ensure those most impacted understand what's at stake. And by collaborating with us, Liveable Moonee Valley, to develop a clear, coordinated strategy to push back against these changes, working together to mobilise residents and advocate for better planning outcomes. Each of you council members have put your hands up to be a leader in our community. The people of Moonee Valley have elected you to represent them. Now is the time to act. We stand ready with you to ensure that the outcomes we all need and deserve. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mark. Before we open to councillors, I'd like to acknowledge that Councillor Paula Theocrides is online. Councillors, do you have any clarifying questions or comments for the presenter tonight? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thanks. How is your advocacy with the state government going? Have you had any positive feedback that you're happy to share?
We've had a number of meetings with different representatives, Danny and Ben. We have yet to see any. The regulations were supposed to be presented in December. They haven't yet, and we haven't heard any more beyond where that's at. I mean, we've had outstanding questions with the Minister for many, many months. They remain unanswered. I think the number, I mean, with only 5 minutes, it's very difficult to explain the number of ways that this policy doesn't make sense. It's been an underwhelming response from the Minister and the Department.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions from councillors? Thanks, Mark.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone from the Liveable Moonee Valley Group for being here in the gallery tonight. The next three presentations are on the topic of the proposed fence along the Moonee Ponds Creek at Boeing Reserve. I'd like to invite Nina Franceschi to make a presentation regarding the proposed fence along the Moonee Ponds Creek at Boeing Reserve. Thank you, Nina. You have 5 minutes.
So before I start, I just want to congratulate all the new councillors for coming in and those who were already existing, and to you, Mayor Adams, and the Deputy Mayor, Fran. So I'd really like everybody to focus on the pictures, on the photos that I've put in this presentation. So I'll be talking about the presentation, but I really want you to focus on the photos and keep your attention on the presentation, if that's okay. And I'll be sending you a copy by email afterwards. So it's about the objection to the safety fence at Boeing Reserve. Oh, sorry, there's something here in the way. Can I get rid of that thing at the top? Oh, it's okay. So what catches your attention when looking at this photo? So for me, it's the fence, the track and the fence. So I just want you to absorb that for a moment and then compare that to this photo and have a look at what catches your attention here. So here it shows more trees, grass, and the visual, the visibility of the creek on the left is more visible to the eye rather than having a fence. So here's a safety fence where the viewer sightline has been robbed and could have been avoided had council involved Friends of Moonee Ponds Creek and parkland advocates in their decision making at the time. This fence was erected about 3 years ago, Anna? 2 years ago, probably 3 years ago, yeah. So what's the new fencing requirement for new shared paths? So all new shared paths within 5 metres of steep embankments along waterways must have a safety fence. So it's this proposal ensures compliance. Now you need to really understand that for the rest of this presentation, that within 5 metres of an embankment, it needs, for new paths, it requires a fence. So why is this an issue at Boeing Reserve? So due to this compliance, the new shared path that Moonee Valley is proposing to build will require a 515 metre long fence all the way to the Trestle Bridge. That's 1/2 kilometre of fencing. So it's a long way. And why we don't want this fence? So fences can be unsightly, and those who enjoy the creek would not experience the same natural beauty as they would without them. There's a higher risk of waterway erosion within the riparian zone, which would undermine the path in the future. A fence in the riparian zone could have a significant impact on mature canopy trees and make it impossible to plant trees and vegetation. So a new concrete path plus fencing will require a 0.5 metre concrete and base, which will have a significant impact on existing and future trees. And also, how many trees would need to be removed if a fence is installed? So that's a bit of a worry because the trees are really starting to mature along this section. Now, Melbourne Water strongly recommend that shared paths should be located outside of the core riparian zone, which is at least 10 metres from the top of the embankment. So, I'm curious why council would go against a Melbourne Water recommendation. And what's the alternative for Boeing Reserve? Well, a more suitable alternative to installing a safety fence on the Moonee Valley side would be to direct bike traffic over the Boeing Bridge to the shared path on the Marybeck side going north, which is a highly used path. So here's some photos of that path that we could direct bikes to. And so the shared path is safe and in very good condition. It's set back 20 metres from the embankment. There's no safety fences no safety fences are required, because safety fences can be a bit of a hazard too. You wouldn't want to run into a safety fence. It's a flat area. There's grass on both sides. There's no maintenance costs for Moonee Valley City Council because it's existing already in Marybeck, and only redirection signage and asphalt resheeting of existing path would be required for Moonee Valley side. And the money saved
Nina, you've got another 30 seconds.
could be directed to the to other areas. So I would like to see here, if you could just imagine parents here with prams and on the Moonee Valley side, parents of young children with prams, they would be free of bike riders distracting them. If I've only got 30 seconds, sorry. So be mindful that there is no other location along the creek where a formal path exists on both sides. And why do council consider shared paths on both sides? So I'll send you this presentation. I just want to show you just a few pictures. Here's a fence and what it could look like. So would you want this or this? Or this, or this, or this. So, it's looking quite obvious
Thanks,
that it's
Nina.
nicer. Yeah, so I'd urge all councillors to oppose the safety fence at the meeting when it comes up soon. I think next week. I don't know, Hamish might be able to answer that.
Thank you, Nina. You can stay at the lectern just for some questions.
Would you like to ask any questions?
Councillors, do you have any clarifying questions or comments? Councillor Sypek.
Hi, John. Well, the riparian zone is usually, I don't know the exact definition, but it's a zone within, usually from the waterway. Actually, I can't answer that. It's like the embankment. You'd have to ask an environmentalist, an open space planner here. But I've had a lot of help with this document by open space planners, and they have advised about the riparian zone. But it's very close to the waterway. Yeah, it's the area I suppose you need to protect the water. Within that riparian zone, yeah.
Thanks, Nina. Any other questions from councillors? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously I'm passionate about the Moonee Ponds Creek and Boeing Reserve, being a Strathmore resident and the councillor for Airport Ward. I was wondering if you could sort of tell me a bit more about amenity issues that have been experienced further down the creek, between Strathmore North Primary School and Lebanon Reserve, where that new fence and I think Kanga Track is the term they use has been
track,
built.
Yeah,
and,
so I actually live in that street.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a Kanga Track. So what happened there was to protect a tree. So there was a tree that was in the way of building a path, a shared path. And so council went and decided to put what's called a Kanga Track, which is a really big concrete structure to protect the roots of the tree, so that bike riders and walkers could walk on that path without damaging the tree. But the problem was, in hindsight, had we known that the Kanga Track was going to be, who knows how much concrete, but mega loads of concrete, and a steel fence was installed, I don't know, the impacts to the environment weren't good. In hindsight, I think the tree may have been better coming down than laying all that concrete and having a fence. So I think that's really important at Boeing Reserve, that yes, a couple of trees may have to go. However, if it means that a fence isn't built, you know, we divert the, you know, if you divert the path away from the creek and away from the riparian zone, and yes, a couple of trees have to go, at least we don't have a big fence, a 1/2 kilometre fence, and I think it's less impact to the environment. Is that, I don't know, is that what you wanted to?
Thanks, Nina.
Yeah.
Councillor Isa?
Thanks very much, Nina. Thanks for the presentation, and thanks to your advocacy on this. I was pleased to have the chance to go up to the area and did a little run around the area, and it was
Yeah, thank you
beautiful.
for doing
Oh,
that. And thanks to all councillors who, everybody's come to see it as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I just wanted to clarify that the section that we're talking about was between the bridge and then the
Trestle
overhead-
Bridge,
the Trestle
correct.
Bridge, and that's because that is duplicated exactly on the other side. There's no loss of sort of pathway or route if bikes are diverted to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, maybe 100 and 200 extra metres, but no loss of sort of directional pathway for cyclists.
No, because there's a complete path on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a complete path. So they would cross over at the, you know where the community gardens are? They would cross over there and there would be redirectional, you know, no bikes allowed past this point. They would cross over the bridge and they would be on a completely perfect path on the other, a great bike path. Yeah, and if that bike path is ever widened or repaired or fixed or whatever, or replaced, that would be a Merrybeck
And is
expense.
it your understanding that the fence is only needed for the cycle path, not for...
It's only for cycling,
Not
not
for-
for walkers. So yes, if all the bikes are redirected on the other side and then they left the Moonee Valley side just for walkers and pram pushers and dogs and whatever else, they wouldn't require a fence, correct. Yeah, and nowhere in Moonee Valley, nowhere along the creek, I can see that they have paths on both sides, as in shared paths. This is the only spot, so why do we need 2 bike paths? You know, Brosnan Crescent, where like I said, where that section where I live is amazing, because one side you can walk with the dog or walk with your kids and not have that stress of bikes. You know, you can allow kids to run freely there. Yeah, and the chain of ponds also states that. The chain of ponds says where possible, keep them separate. Keep one side informal, one side formal. Yeah.
Thanks, Nina. Any other questions from councillors? No, thanks, Nina.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move on to the next presentation. Thank you. Oh, sorry, is that Councillor Theocrides?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find the mute button. Hold on for that. Can you hear me, Linda?
Yeah.
I just have a question. Have you, because I know that you heavily, all the groups are heavily involved with each other and in those sustainability. I know that they've got an active transport arm. Have you run this idea by the active transport group within those sustainability to get their thoughts on?
Within Moonee Valley Sustainability.
Yeah, so there's an active transport advocacy group within Moonee Valley Sustainability, and I was just interested to know, because they are, all about active transport.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had had a chance to get their feedback on whether that would be...
No, not necessarily on the active transport group, but I do work closely with Theresa Day and Logan and others in that group, and they're totally opposed to it as well. So I will be contacting them soon, because they've asked all along that they'll support us on this. So I suspect councillors will be getting an email about this, and I suppose they'll probably address what you're just asking. So yeah, but thank you for reminding me. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Thanks, Nina.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
move on to the next presentation. I'd like to now invite John Kavanagh to make a presentation regarding the proposed fence along the Moonee Ponds Creek at Boeing Reserve. Thank you, John. You have
Thank you
5
very
minutes.
much. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, council officers and municipal monitor. Congratulations on your recent election, councillors, and particularly to you, Mayor, on your election as Mayor. Congratulations. I'd like to make 3 points and pretty briefly, Hope. Firstly, you may view this as a small issue. I can assure you that it's not. It has a lot of community interest, and at its meeting last year at the Friends of Moonee Ponds Creek, our general meeting, it was, and I'm the president of Friends of Moonee Ponds Creek, it was extremely well attended, and people were very concerned about the proposed fencing. So particularly to newly elected councillors, you may think it's a small issue. I can assure you it's not. Secondly, normally the Friends of Moonee Ponds Creek is campaigning with our local councils, including Moonee Valley, for more funding for different things. This is a bit of a unique situation. We're actually asking you not to spend money. So that's quite a unique situation, and something that in the 5 years that I've been president, I haven't come across in that time. So it's, I can assure you this is an unusual situation. And thirdly, I'd like you to consider for a moment Melbourne's main waterway, the Yarra River, and think to yourself, can you envisage fences blocking the paths to the Yarra River? And I can't think of one area along the Yarra where that is the case. And so if it's quite acceptable to have no fencing along our premier and most used waterway, I can't see why we can't go with no fencing at our wonderful Moonee Ponds Creek. And that's all from me.
Thanks, John. Are there any questions from councillors? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. Is the position that you're against the fence or against the shared path?
Oh no, against the proposed fence, which will block the aesthetics to the creek from the shared path.
But if the path was more than 5 metres from the embankment, you would be okay if it was shared?
Yes,
shared, as long as it didn't require the fence?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
that's the position. Thank you so much.
Thanks for clarifying.
Thanks, John.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Mayor.
questions? We'll now move on to the next presentation, and I'd like to invite James Williams to make a presentation regarding the proposed fence along the Moonee Ponds Creek at Boeing Reserve. Thank you, James. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Galanal Uncle James, Waka Waka Murray. Translate from my Waka Waka language, it's good evening and welcome. I'm Uncle James, and I'm a Waka Waka man from the land of the Murray people in so-called Queensland. I don't call it Queensland, it's Murrayland. So I'm going to start by telling you a little story. About 20 years ago, when I first moved to Naarm, I got my family settled in our house. We moved to the western suburbs initially. I spent the first 2 weeks of my time here in Naarm searching for a traditional owner of the country that we live on, and I wasn't sure who they were at the time. Found out pretty quickly it was the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and took me 2 weeks, and I found Uncle Bill Nicholson with a dance troupe at Fed Square, and I told him what I was seeking from him, and he did my welcome to country. And you've probably heard a lot of Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people do a welcome to country, and what they say when they say it is that, you know, we had this strong connection to the land, and you are welcome on my country, but you must care for my country. You must look after country, and I do it on a daily basis, because for me it's just as important. I go to a lot of the creeks and waterways and paths in Moonee Valley. There's so many beautiful ones here, and I enjoy them all. I go to Boeing Reserve for walks sometimes, and a couple of times I've ridden my bike along the bike path. I fully support what Nina has said so far as a person who wants to protect the humanity and the beauty and care for country, as I promised I would do to the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. I think it's critically important that beauty along that side of the creek is not destroyed by a metal fence. That, for me, that's just a nightmare. It's so beautiful at the moment, and I enjoy it so much. That's why I like walking down there. And I've walked all the way to the Trestle Bridge and all the way back past Nina's place, back to my place. You know, sometimes I do that because it's just so beautiful. And I've seen that fence, the other steel fence that was built. When I saw it, I thought, my God, this is horrific. It is no longer beautiful. And I think back to what Melbourne Water did with the canal, building, concreting the creek essentially, and collectively the communities managed to get them to take that back. That looks really beautiful again now. I often go there, particularly after the rain, to see how nice it looks, and it's amazing. Can't wait for them to take it a little bit further back. But that's where I'm coming from. It's about caring for country and protecting the natural beauty and amenity of our bush, because it's just so beautiful there. I have to work in a concrete building where I work, and on the weekends or at nights, in the evenings even, I get the opportunity to go and enjoy this beautiful country, and I'd love it to stay the way it is. That's all from me.
Thank you,
Any
James.
questions?
Any questions from councillors?
No?
No? Thank you, James.
I meant to say... sorry, go on.
Sorry, councillor Theocrides.
Yes?
Not so much a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your personal story. I really appreciate it, and I want to hear it, so thank you.
Thank you. Before I go too, I also meant to say congratulations to the councillors. And I know some and some I don't know. I think I know most of you. So anyway,
Thanks, James.
See you later.
Thank you. See you. And that concludes the public forum tonight. Thank you to those watching and participating this evening. I now close the public forum at 6:29 p.m. Thank you.